So it's your duty as a good leader to build good processes for your people to follow to make their success easy. It goes hand in hand. Leadership and process, they walk together holding hands. Right? If you're a good leader, you have good process.
Hey guys, my name's Julian Castle. I am a partner in the Real Estate Investors Group. We have 184,000 members on there. Join us if you'd like to get some real estate advice. And today we have a really great guest. His name is Mike Martinez. Mike Martinez has a debt collection company called NPG. They have over 100 people in their Egypt offices and their local offices. And he also has a virtual wholesaling company, and he has a data skip trace software called Data Skip that is used for real estate services and home services. And he's also a 10x business advisor at Cardone Ventures who helps people grow their businesses. So, Mike, how are you doing today? Thank you for coming on.
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm amazing. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. So, give us a little background, like where your company's at. Like, where's your revenue at? Like, what makes you, like, just give us the ability to know where you're at, just to see what we can expect to hear from throughout this podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So last year we did 18.5 million in our debt collection agency. And this year we're forecasting to do between 22 million and 25 million. So we're always scaling. I also own a real estate wholesale company with my wife. We do that part time. We do about $1 million a year. And then with Data Skip,
Nice.
same thing. Our skip tracing company does a couple $1 million. So last year we did over 20 million. This year we're forecasting to do easy over $25 million in revenue throughout all my companies. And 90% of that revenue comes from my collection organizations.
Nice, nice. That's great to hear. Congrats on the success, multiple eight figures. So yeah, let's I'm really I'm really excited to get started, and so I want to really start from the beginning. What was the initial interest or spark that got you into entrepreneurship, that got you on this path where you are now at today.
Yeah, it's funny. As a kid, I always knew that I was going to be successful. I always had a feeling. I just knew it. Like I just knew that one day I was going to be rich. I didn't know
Mm,
how, I didn't know when, I didn't know anything. It's just a gut feeling that I had. And as I became a teenager, I started working. My first job, my first office job was at 15 years old doing telemarketing. And, I started
yeah.
doing canvassing, door knocking for home improvement company. At 17, 18 years old, I would see these sales guys that were selling home improvement products like roofing, windows, texture coating, painting for houses. And I'm like, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a salesperson and I'm going to sell home improvement products. Well, that's what I thought back then. And I just kind of knew I was going to figure it out. Like, that's it, one way or another.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So you always had the feeling of like, I'm going to be successful. I don't have the plan or the how to yet, but I'm going to do it. So
Yeah.
that's great. And what kind of challenges or did you face that shaped your mindset or approach, to this leadership or this path?
Yeah, at a very early age, I got caught up with alcohol and drugs, more than alcohol.
Uh-huh.
So at 15 years old, I was already doing, sniffing crystal meth and smoking weed and, experimenting with cocaine and drinking at the clubs at 16 years old. And at 18 years old, I got very, very hooked on smoking meth, crystal meth, for a
Mm,
few years. And that was the biggest challenge of my life was getting off of
mm,
it. Luckily, I had the support of my mom and my older brother. My older brother was a Marine, hardcore Marine, and he pulled me over to his house and took some time off of work to sober me up, and then ultimately, they put me in a rehab in those first couple of weeks. But first, my brother sobered me up. And once I got to rehab, I was already sober for a few weeks, so it was easy. But that was the biggest challenge was kicking that bad habit. And, you know, when I was in rehab, like for a few weeks after my brother had already helped me sober up, it was easy. I was just like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. But it was very challenging. So I've always had the mindset since I got off of meth at 21 years old. So from 18 to 21,
Mm-hmm.
I was really, really addicted to crystal meth. So when I got
Mm-hmm.
off at 21 years old, I told myself, since I was able to overcome that challenge, I can pretty much do anything. If you can find the willpower and the way to come off of a strong drug like that, a strong drug addiction like that, what
Yeah.
can you not do? And I feel like I have an advantage over a lot of people. I feel like I appreciate life more than everyone else does because I was literally
Yeah.
stuck in hell when I was using crystal meth.
Wow, that's an
So,
amazing story. That's incredible. I'm grateful that you're here today sharing these teachings because there might be someone in the audience listening who is going through that, and hearing your story is going to definitely get them to move closer to that other goal that they have. So that's awesome. And from 21, obviously sobering up and getting yourself back together is like the first step, right? Like where you actually can accomplish your goals, right? What was the route that you took? Like, did you pursue a mentor, or like what was the opportunity that you took on at that age in order to start the journey? Did you start sales? Like what was it?
yeah. So I did sales again since I was 15 years old doing telemarketing. I became a canvas manager, door knocking at 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think, right, like, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. 15 years old doing telemarketing, 16 years old, a door knocking manager. I
Yeah.
just, I really, really liked learning about how to be a good salesperson. Like my first book was at 15, 16 years old. Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top. That's the first book I read when I
Mm-hmm.
was 16 years old. But
Yeah.
I didn't really pursue mentors until like the last 3 years. I'm 40 years old now. So I didn't know about
Wow.
self development. I liked reading
Yeah.
books about sales. You know, I liked it, but I didn't know about self development. I wasn't intentional with it. I was just trying to learn how to be
Yeah.
a good salesperson so that I could have a good sales job that'll pay me well. That was my intention back then. So from 21 when I got out of rehab, I did sales as a kid, right? Door knocking and doing telemarketing. I started working at like a couple furniture stores as a salesperson. Then eventually I applied for a job after rehab as a salesperson, and there was no sales jobs. So they put me in the credit department approving applications, and it was too easy. I was getting paid like $7 an hour back in those days. It was like, I think it was 2000, 2003, 2003 to
Mm-hmm.
2005. Um, so it was too easy. So the owner of the furniture store says, why don't I put you in our collections department? Since you have a sales background, I think you would be really good at it. And within the
Mm-hmm.
first 3 months, I was the top performer in their collections department. And that really set me on a path to the collection industry because I started understanding what debt collections was. So, but
Mm.
mentor, that didn't come until 15 years later.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. That's incredible. So I wanna dissect that a little bit. Like, so you started this process, in the debt collection part of the business, and then you became the top performer in 3 months. Obviously, there's many people that are there that probably have a longer time with them, and they are not the top salespeople. So you're obviously doing something different. What do you think you were doing differently that made you be able to be one of these top performers in such a short period of time?
So I was about 21 years old at the time. I started
Mm-hmm.
learning sales at 15 years old. So even though
Mm-hmm.
that was my first debt collection job, which to me, debt collections is just sales, it's convincing
Mm-hmm.
people to pay their financial obligations and make good on their promises to pay something that was issued to them on credit. It's sales.
Mm-hmm.
It's persuading people to do the right thing, right? So I
Yeah.
looked at it as a sales job. I looked at it as I was a debt collector. Most people don't look at it that way. Most people look at debt collections as you have to strong arm people, you have to bully them into paying, and that wasn't my approach. My approach was sales. Be nice, be polite, be professional, try to help them out of their bad financial situation to get the money paid back. So I looked at it from a sales perspective, when a lot of people in the debt collection industry don't look at it like that. They really don't. So I think that gave me a huge advantage over everybody. And I think that's why I outshined everybody so fast.
Mm, gotcha. So you took it like as a sales role, and you took it professionally, and you started, working these leads. So that's impressive. Um, what do you think was, how did you build up your career? Like, was starting in the debt collection agency. You become a top performer. Did you continue on that path for a while, and then like what was the pivotal
Yeah.
moment where you were like, I want to build my own debt collection agency?
Yeah, so I wasn't working at an agency yet at this time. At 21 years old, it was around 2005. I was working at a furniture store in their debt collections department, and I
Mm,
was top performer for 3 months in a row. And their supervisor, their manager, promised to make me a supervisor. And
yeah.
throughout this time, they kept breaking their promise. They kept saying, "Well, when the position opens up, we still need to hire more people." They kept making excuses. So eventually I got frustrated with the broken promises. And
Hmm.
back in those days, they still had the penny savers and the old school way of finding a job. I mean, this was like
Yeah.
what, 16, 17 years ago. So
Yeah.
I got a job. I found a job at a debt collection agency. And I
Mm,
applied right there and I interviewed right there. The problem was that they were not hiring people without debt collection agency experience. I did not work at an agency. I worked at a furniture store in their collection department.
mm,
So that's
mm,
considered first party. I never worked at an agency, which is considered a third party. So because of
hmm.
that reason, they weren't giving me the opportunity to work there. They said we need at least 6 months of experience at an agency. You haven't worked at an agency at all, so you don't qualify for this position. So what I did is I kept pressuring the supervisor to hire me. I kept persuading her, convincing her, and I said, look, all you have to do is just give me an opportunity, and I promise you won't regret it. She says, I can't do it. I kept calling her and I said, talk to the owners, talk to the higher up managers. And eventually she just got tired of me calling and she said, I spoke to the owners. You're so persistent. Just come in. You start on this day. So I got my first job at the debt collection agency. From
Nice.
there, I got all my experience. I went to go work at a law firm after a few years, and I got more experience at a debt collection law firm. I was in their legal department preparing accounts for lawsuits, and I got a lot of experience there. And then I ended up going to
Mm,
work at another collection agency working commission only. Well, let me tell you something about commission only. Any job
mm,
that you take that's commission based only, you're going to have an opportunity to make a lot of money if you're serious about making money. And that's exactly
mhm,
what I did. So I had the experience, I had the confidence. At the beginning, it was difficult, but I overcame the challenges that that position threw at me. And eventually, I started making $10,000 a month. And this was around 2010. Working at
nice.
that agency, it was a very big agency with a lot of collectors, with a lot of talent, a lot of skill, a lot of experience. I ended up meeting a buddy there who wanted to open his own collection agency. So he offered me to come work for him. He says, why don't you come work for me as my general manager? I'll pay you very well. You can run the whole business for me. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm already making between ten and $15,000 a month. I'm already running a team. I'm comfortable here. I'm already established here. I'm not going to leave something. I have a family, my wife, my kids. I was driving a Lexus at the time. I had a Suburban. I had a nice little
Mm,
condo. I'm like, I'm not going to risk my livelihood to hope that you're a good leader and hope that your business succeeds. I'm not going to do that.
yeah.
The only way I'm going to do it is if you make me a partner. I said, I'll partner with you. You put the money, I'll run the company. You could be the investor and I'll run the company. So he got a loan from his dad. We ended up doing it. We launched our first company in 2012. It was the scariest thing that I've ever done in my life. Not the
Yeah.
hardest, the
Uh-huh.
scariest. You would think that crystal meth would be the scariest. It wasn't. It was the hardest. Leaving crystal
Yeah.
meth was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Starting my
Yeah.
own company with a partner was the scariest thing. Leaving a job and starting a business was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, ever.
Hmm.
And fortunately, it worked out well. I worked from 5 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night sometimes. I put in the work, and eventually, I just got tired of me doing everything. And that relationship lasted 2 years. That partnership lasted 2 years. And then I said, that's it, enough, man. I'm not going to keep running the whole company and splitting the profits. I'm going to go do my own thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We parted ways. And
Yeah.
I went out on my own. Yeah.
That's great. Wow, congrats. I mean, it sounds like you have an experience and such a hustle. What where did you get your hustle? Like, I mean, what there's a lot of people that like they want to have a rich lifestyle, and and they say like you, yeah, I want to be successful. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but a lot of people don't take the actions that actually it takes to be successful. But it seems that you follow through, on whatever you want to do. You actually put in the work. So where did you get that? Like, did your parents like instill that, the hard work? Was that something you were culturally brought up with, or was it just something that you just developed, like, or that you decided to do?
So I know my mom has very, very strong work ethic. My dad passed when I was 7 years old. My dad was 32 years old when he passed away. So I don't remember much about my father, but I do know that he was a very hard worker as well. So maybe it is something that I inherited from them is work ethic. I know my older brother's a very, very hard worker. We share the same mother
Yeah.
and father. I know he's an extremely hard worker. So I don't know, maybe it's in the blood. Um, I think hard work is very important, Julian. Very important.
Yeah.
But I think what's even more important than hard work to be successful is ambition and perseverance. Being relentless, like Tim Grover says, being relentless.
Mhm.
I think that those are
Yeah.
the keys right there. Being extremely, extremely fired up with ambition and being extremely relentless and persevering, like taking a beating and just getting back up like you're not even hurt. Like, I think that's the
Yeah.
key right there to be super successful in life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah, that is. I definitely take you on that. I think it's true for sure. And it's clearly seeing what you've done. Where you are right now. It's great. So let me ask you this. So you went in after you got into your own deck. You started NPG, right? That's when you started
Yeah.
it. How coming from running your business with your partner and everything. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of the CEO mentality? I mean, obviously, you know that being a salesman is much different than being a business owner, right? There's a lot more things that you have to do, right? So, like, what did you have to do or learn in order to be able to grow your team and not only make it depend on you, so that you can build this business, that sustains itself?
I'll tell you, I failed at a lot of things. The first thing and the main thing that I failed at was leadership. I was a good salesperson. I wasn't a good leader. And
Mm,
I think that I wasn't the best businessman either. I was
mm,
okay. I was okay enough to make, millions of dollars a year, but I wasn't netting much. I didn't know how to manage my business properly. I didn't have financial intelligence.
mm.
I freaking sucked at math. So
Yeah,
I had to really, really develop these last 10 years. And
yeah,
for the last 7 years, in the last 12 years, let's just say the last 12 years, within those last 12 years, the last 3 years have really been the most investing that I've done into myself in making
mhm,
myself better. And the first year that I really started working on myself, on my development, my mindset, business training, I didn't go to business school. Nobody ever taught me how to run a business. I had to teach myself through books, mentors, coaches, seminars, events. Um, that's when I became a millionaire. And then the following year, I became a multimillionaire. So isn't that
mm.
funny? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
When I started obsessing about self-development and I started submerging myself in trainings and development, I became a millionaire. Is that a coincidence? And then when I seen that I was changing so fast, I was like my new addiction, my new drug was learning how to be a better human being and learning how to be a better CEO and businessman. So isn't it amazing that I become a multimillionaire during that time? Isn't it amazing? Right? It's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence. That's what made me who I am. Self-development and
Hmm.
learning. So now that's all I do. That's all I do on my free time. That's my hobby. That's my sport. I'm a
Yeah.
professional self-developer.
I love it. I never heard that title before. That's great. Okay. That's wonderful. Okay, so you definitely took it on to self-develop yourself in order to become a better leader and, become better in all these other business processes. Um, I want to talk about some things in particular that may be some things practical that the audience members can take. So could you walk us through some of the challenges, the most like common challenges that business face when you're dealing with account receivable? Like what do you deal with like on a daily basis, and how do you approach solving these issues for your clients?
Of course. So the first thing is that a lot of businesses are so small, or their focus is not billing or accounts receivables, and it shouldn't be, by the way. It shouldn't be. Their focus is mainly sales and marketing, and that's what it should be.
Yeah.
After sales and marketing, that'll get you to your first $1 million. If there's a market for whatever product or service you're selling, if there's a market for it, okay, then sales and marketing will make you your first $1 million. Now,
Hmm.
after $1 million, if you want to make more than $1 million, let's say you want to make 2, 3 million, 5 million. My greatest mentor is Brandon Dawson. He's the CEO and
Hmm.
co-founder of Cardone Ventures. He taught me all this. Okay.
Hmm.
There's breakpoints in businesses. So businesses have certain things that you need to do in order to get to certain levels in every business. Okay. So if you want to go past $1 million to $5 million, then what you need to start doing is become a master at duplication, because you're not going to get to $10 million or even $5 million after you got past your first million. You're not going to do it with the same small team. The way you're going to do it is by scaling. And the way you're going to
Hmm.
scale is by mastering duplication and having processes and having some fundamental leadership with you in your business. That's how you're going to get to the next level. Then, as you keep growing, you keep getting to these breakpoints and you keep having issues that come up and you don't know why, because you didn't
Hmm.
study scaling. Nobody studied
Hmm.
scaling businesses unless you have a master's in business administration and your expertise was scaling, which most people are not. So they don't
Hmm.
understand that. They don't understand what these walls are stopping you from going to the next level. Most people don't even get past $1 million because they don't know how. They don't know how to duplicate themselves. They don't know how to build processes, and they don't know shit about leadership. That's why they don't go
Hmm.
past $1 million. All they got to was the kindergarten side, which is sales and marketing, to get to your first million because there was a market for their product or service.
Mm. Okay. Okay, that's incredible. Yeah, impressive. I love how you just, you make it so simple, to understand. Um, what would you say are some of the key leadership principles that you would have to have in order to get, further along, you know?
So there's two that come to mind right off the bat. Number
Uh-huh.
one is you actually have to care about the success and the well-being of your people, like truly care.
Mm.
Don't just say you care because they know. People are smart, and we have feelings, right? People have feelings. So you can feel when somebody's being authentic. You can feel when somebody's bullshitting you. So your people are no
Yeah.
different. The people that work for you, they know when you're bullshitting. So just don't bullshit them. And actually learn how to care about their success. Like I don't want my team to
Yeah.
fail, right? I want my team to
Yeah.
be winners. I want my team to be winners. I want my team to make a lot of money. As I'm making more money, I want them to make more money. So actually
Yeah.
care about your people, number one. Number two, do everything in your power that you can to make their success easy.
Mm.
If you stick to those two fundamentals of leadership, you can't go wrong.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. That's great. All right. What about you mentioned processes? Why is that important? Like, why do we need that in order to scale? Like, why?
Yeah, so that goes hand in hand with leadership, what I just said. Making
Uh-huh.
other people's success easy. Making other people's success easy. How do you do that? By creating processes that have been battle tested, that you know that they work. Creating those processes that they can follow, that'll make their success easy. So it's your duty as a good leader to build good processes for your people to follow to make their success easy. It goes hand in hand. Leadership and process, they walk together holding hands, right? If you're a good leader, you have good process. If you're a horrible leader, you probably don't have any process.
Yeah.
And if you have bad process, then guess what, buddy? You're a bad leader. It's just the way it works. They
That makes
have to
sense.
walk in hand together. And if you really
Yeah.
care about the success of your people and you want to make their success easy, you'll invest all the time, energy, money, resources into building good processes for them to follow so that they can be successful.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, what is a good, like, what is a process? Like, what is that? Like, what goes into a process? Like, what should be there in order for someone to be able to take, up the task and do it correctly how it's been done before?
Okay, so that's a great question. Process is building a format or a game plan for them to follow, okay?
Hmm.
And coaching them to make sure that they're following it, disciplining them when they're not following it, and removing them
Hmm.
from your organization if they refuse to follow it. So that's what a
Mm.
process is. That's what a process
Hmm.
is. Okay, so just to give you some examples, we have processes for everything in our businesses. I have
Yeah.
processes for things in my life because
Yeah.
we strive to be an ultimate human being. We need to have processes in everything that we do if we want to get to that level. So
Hmm.
you have a hiring process, you have an interview process, you have an onboarding process, you have a training process, you have a development process, you have an employee maturity process where they get promoted and they keep developing,
Hmm.
right? These are all
Hmm.
processes, okay?
Yeah.
You have a process that you need to follow with certain things in a construction company, right? This is how you build a house. This is the process,
Mm.
okay?
Right.
With us, how do you get from 25% body fat to 15% body fat in 4 to 5 months? How do you do that? You follow a process. Count your macros. Go to the gym. Work out twice a day. That's a process, right? So
Hmm.
come up with a
Yeah.
process that works, that's been proven. It's proven by a million bodybuilders that counting your macros works, right? That's a
Yeah.
process. It's a
Yeah.
process, right?
Okay.
Follow it. Stick to it.
Yeah. Gotcha, gotcha. That's great. That's a great description of it. I think everybody got it for sure. And wonderful. And then the last thing, on that, three-piece thing that you mentioned is the duplication. Um, what is that? Like, how do you duplicate yourself, and how do you scale that?
We come back down to the same thing. John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So the first thing you need to focus on is being a good leader. What does a good leader do? A good leader figures out what works and what doesn't work. Whatever doesn't work, stay away from it. Whatever works,
Yeah.
do more of it, right? So building a
Mm-hmm.
process, we know it works. So we're going to build a process, okay?
Yeah.
Then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that everybody understands it, everybody's following it. Then we're going to see who does it the best. Who does it the best?
Mm-hmm.
Then they're going to set the standards for the company. And if they do anything different that's better than what you already had built and that everybody else is following, then you're going to update your process and you're going to update your standards and you're going to update your targets and your goals. That's how you're able to duplicate. Because now you
Mm-hmm.
have a person that tested the process, they built the process, they made sure you follow the process. Then you have somebody that follows your process and finds success. Then you're going to
Mm-hmm.
repeat, 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 repeat. And that's duplication.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, amazing. I love it. I love it. Okay, great. So tell me, okay, so you obviously scaled, your debt collection agency to do, many millions of dollars, last year, and you're going to do more this year. What were the key, things that you did throughout that time? I mean, in order to get there, what was it that you can tell that from your journey,
There's two main things. There's two main things that I'm always going to be focused on. Innovation, innovation, being different than everyone else
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and investing time, money, energy, focus into technology. We're going into 2025 where Elon Musk rules the world. So, how does he rule the world? How does Elon Musk rule the world? Through technology and innovation. So, why wouldn't every business try to do the same thing? Okay.
Yeah.
But most important, more important than innovation and technology in a business, more important than that is people. People are your greatest asset. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful when I say this because I don't want people getting the wrong idea and casting judgment on me. So I got to be careful when I say this. But a CEO or a successful business owner, founder of a company, is the equivalent to a modern day king. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they're equivalent to a modern day king. So
Mm-hmm.
what did a good king do back in the days, and what did a bad king do back in the days? Right? Going to the
Mm-hmm.
analogy of the Lion King movie, that's it
Mm-hmm.
probably sounds ridiculous, but using the
Yeah.
analogy of the Lion King movie, what did Scar, the evil uncle, what did he do when he was ruler? He destroyed the country. He destroyed the land, right? What does a good king do? A good king is loving, caring, takes care of his land and his people, right? So if you're a CEO or if you're a founder of a business or a business owner, be a good king. Be a good king. Love your people. Take care of your people. Worry about their success. You don't want them to starve, right? I want my people riding on beautiful big black horses, which is a brand new Mercedes now, right? So I want all of my people in my company to be nobles, not peasants. So what do I
Yeah.
have to do? I have to set them up that way. And
Yeah.
that's the power of innovation and technology. And most important, more important than that, is your people, the people that rely on you, right, for their everyday livelihood. Like just take care of
Yeah.
them, teach them, make them better, polish them, and
Yeah.
those are the keys right there. And I'm just warming
That's
up.
amazing. Love it. Love it. Incredible. All right. So I do want to touch on your wholesaling business because, as real estate investors, we're, a lot of people get into wholesaling as their first kind of business, or hustle or whatever. So,
It's a stepping
um,
stone into the real
so
estate world.
yeah, it's like it's the first stepping stone. Yeah, it's the first side hustle. So I know that you have built a business now that is a virtual wholesaling business that you do part-time that is making $1 million a year. Now, let me just say, $1 million a year for something that is part-time is not normal. There is people that are doing $1 million years in wholesaling, and they're going at it full time. So, you must be doing something different. You know what you're doing. So can you explain to us like what virtual wholesaling is and how you do to collect that money?
Yeah, of course. So virtual wholesaling is where my team is all overseas, and we're in markets nationwide, where we're not even located in. So
Mm-hmm.
when you say virtual wholesaling, I took the word virtual to a whole nother level. Like, we're not only wholesaling nationwide in areas where we're not located. That's what virtual wholesaling is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Virtual wholesaling is wholesaling in areas where you're not located. I took it to another level where I'm even doing it with my teams that are not even in the US. Our teams are overseas in the Middle East and in Latin America. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the structure. By the way, my wife is the CEO of that company. I have to give her all the credit because she's the one that runs that business. I literally probably spend like 2% of my time on that company. My wife probably
Mm-hmm.
spends 25% of her time on that company.
Nice.
So she's the CEO and she runs it. I just help support her in her business. So the way we have that business set up is we really take a lot of emphasis on all of our teams there. So we have three
Mm-hmm.
teams. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have a cold calling team, which is
Mm-hmm.
telemarketing. We have about
Mm-hmm.
15 cold callers that are cold calling nationwide. We have a acquisitions team. So we have an
Mm-hmm.
acquisitions team. I have a sales director, Kate. Shout out to Kate. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She used to be a cold caller. She used to be a cold caller. Now she's my sales director. So everybody moves up in my company. That's how all my
Yeah.
businesses work. I like to, I like to promote from within.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's four acquisition managers under her. And then, um, and then I have our transactions and dispo department. They're one department. We're the only wholesale company that doesn't call the department dispo. They're not dispo, they're transactions. Transactions
Yeah.
does dispo, but it's not a
Yeah.
dispo department, it's a transactions department. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, there's five people in that team. I have two managers, but they're different. They're both assistant managers to my wife. And
Mm-hmm.
the other three are full support for the two managers that run that department. To me, all of the departments are very important. But to me, the
Mm-hmm.
most critical is the transactions. Most people put their emphasis on acquisitions. My
Mm-hmm.
acquisitions, I wouldn't be able to do it without them. But we put more emphasis on transactions because
Mm-hmm.
you can get contracts. You can get contracts, but are they good contracts? And are you able to sell a contract?
Mm-hmm.
That's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
So the transactions department is making sure that the acquisitions department is getting the right contracts because the transactions department is going to be responsible for selling that contract.
Mm-hmm.
So the transactions department is like a management team that
Mm-hmm.
oversee the whole company. And my wife spends most of her time with her transactions department because to me, that's one of the most important pieces of a wholesale operation because they're the ones that are selling the deals. That's where your revenue's coming from. That's where you need to be maximizing your profits. That's where you need to be keeping the deals together in escrow and taking them all the way to the finish line to close. To
Mm-hmm.
me, that's transactions department is a wholesale company.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the way we're.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Wow. Okay. So and how many deals are you doing a month? Like what is, you know,
Anywhere from like 3 to 5 right now. 3 to 5. This year's been kind of slow. I think
mm-hmm.
we're at about 600 to 700,000 already right now in revenue. We're at about a
Mm-hmm.
25 to 30% profit margin, which we're normally higher than that. At the beginning of the year, we were at like 60, 70% profit. And
Mm-hmm.
we hit some rough months during the summer, but we have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
closings scheduled for the rest of this year. So we're hovering anywhere from 3 to 5 deals a month. It's nothing crazy. I know companies that are doing like 20 deals a month. But
Right.
again, that's not really our main focus. So we use it more to cherry pick some deals. Like if a deal comes in and we want to keep it, we'll keep it and we'll add it to our portfolio. Because we also hold rental property, me and my wife.
Hmm.
But it's more to have some cash flow. Again, I'm all about my people, right? I'm all about my people.
Yeah.
So for me, it's creating jobs for more people. It's creating
Hmm.
jobs for people overseas that freaking appreciate the opportunity to work for us. That's really why
Yeah.
we keep that company together. And for me to also stay involved in the wholesale industry so that I know what's going on at all times within the wholesale industry because I own a skip tracing company for the wholesale industry. So I need to know what's
Right.
going on at all times. How am I going to know if I'm not practicing it? So that's why
Right.
we do it.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. And I want to touch on, the talent. I think the talent is very important, the people. So how do you do to get talent overseas? I mean, you know, it seems like, most people are doing in the United States. They're either cold calling themselves or doing paper leads or something. But it seems that obviously you're doing what is it? You're doing arbitrage where like you're hiring people overseas, so I'm sure you're paying less than an average person here in the United States. So you're making better money, but also you're able to train them and have them actually do the job well. So like, what's your secret sauce for that? Like, how do you do that?
So we have recruiting managers that they're just dedicated to recruiting. Believe it or not, we have a lot of people that are referred to our company from other people that work for me. So I have
Mm,
85 agents overseas in our collection agency, and we have 25 agents overseas in our real estate company. So that's a lot of people
mhm.
overseas, right? Um,
Yeah.
so a lot of them, we always have people emailing us applications. And my managers, my leaders, my recruiters, they're always just looking at resumes and they're always holding interviews. They do group interviews once or twice a week. Sometimes, even more if we need it. But we always have candidates and we're super picky on who we hire. The main thing that we're
Hmm.
looking for is just a little bit of experience in a call center, but mainly we're looking for people that have perfect English or really good English and amazing attitudes. We hire more
Hmm.
based off of your English skills and your attitude. Those are the two things
Hmm.
that we're looking for. Because you
Yeah.
can teach the job to anybody. As long as they have good English to communicate and they have a great attitude, I can work with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. What do you think someone could do that doesn't have the 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 employee flow that you do? What can someone do, in order to get some good quality, people overseas that speak good English and have a good attitude?
They can hire us. I'm just launching a company to do that because we're so good at it. I've had a lot of
Yeah.
people ask me, so I'm opening up our services to real estate and also to home services. I got buddies that
Uh,
do solar, roofing, alarms. I mean, you name it. So I just launched a couple call centers in the last few weeks. We're just finishing
mhm.
up all the little details to be able to do our grand opening. But for real estate, it's reileadforce.com. And then for home
Mm,
services, it's hsleadforce.com. So my call centers are lead force. So I mean, if they don't want to deal with it, because here's the thing, I have a lot of experience running teams, running call centers. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of process that goes into it. We talk about process again, right? It's a huge
yeah.
process. You have to do.
Hmm.
You have to know how to run the ads. You have to know how to do the interview. You have to know what to look for. You have to have an onboarding process. You have to have a training process. You need to have a management process. You need to be tracking their metrics. You need to have a discipline process. Like it's a lot. So
Hmm.
so I can tell you how to find them, but then you're gonna be stuck. Like you're gonna find them and you're gonna lose them in a couple days because you're not gonna know how to retain them.
Hmm.
So that's a whole different conversation that'll take me hours just to get somebody ready to just be able
Yeah.
to have a chance to keep a couple good ones. You know what I
Okay.
mean? That's the truth.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's look at this. Like, how about who is the ideal person who would benefit the most from getting someone from REI Lead Force, for example? What kind of stage in their wholesaling business would they have to be? How much revenue are they bringing in? How many deals are they doing a month? Like, how much of an investment do they have to be able to make? They have to make in order to do that.
I love that question. That's a great question. It's going to depend on what they're comfortable with, how much capital they have, how fast they want to grow, how fast they want to go. I'll give you a couple hypotheticals. Let's say that somebody just got started today and they don't know anything
Yeah.
about wholesaling real estate. Let's say that it's a real estate agent and he just got his license and he wants to get some leads. Okay? Because we can do that for them too. Let's just say that that's the case. Okay? I wouldn't suggest getting a cold caller right now. First, go get your teeth kicked in and get some experience. Okay? At least a little bit. Because you're going to be paying for leads and you're not going to know how to handle them. So then you're going to blame it on us that we don't get good leads when nobody ever taught you how to close a lead. So go out and get a little bit of experience first. Go out and get a little bit of education on how to have conversations with homeowners and learn how to close them first. So what I would do is if I was just starting off wholesaling, I would go door knocking. And I'd get my teeth kicked in first. Then once you learn how to actually get one contract and have a conversation, then you can start off with a couple callers, 1, 2, 3, depending how much budget you have and how fast you want to move. Do you have a CRM? Do you even have a CRM? If you don't have a CRM, don't hire us. Like, don't hire us. You're not ready for that. You know what I mean? But if you have an operation where you're maybe doing one deal a month, you're doing cold calling yourself, you're getting a deal here and there, you're door knocking, here's a good one. You've tried PPC and you keep losing money. Everybody does that. I tried PPC and I lost money. Something's broken in your process. Either you're using the wrong PPC, or you don't know how to close deals, or you're not moving fast enough. Somewhere, something is broken. Okay?
Yeah.
So it just depends. Now, if you're a company that's doing 5 deals and you have a budget for PPC and you're not getting enough leads with your budget and you have a lot of salespeople and you need more leads, perfect. Hire 3 or 4 cold callers. We'll slam your CRM with leads and you guys will have a freaking field day. Right? So it just depends on where everybody's different. It just depends on where they're at.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, that makes sense. So once you know how to do it, then you can start, scaling, hiring people to get you leads, Okay, that makes sense. And wow. Okay, so that's incredible. How much does it cost usually, roughly, for one guy, who's like just one caller, for example, that works a full-time basis? How many leads do they get, a day or a month or something like that? And what's the
So
cost?
one caller it's about $1,200 for one caller. That's going to
Mm-hmm.
include the tool that we use, the predictive dialer that we use, that my buddy
Mm-hmm.
actually developed. It's kick-ass. It includes that. And then they're
Mm-hmm.
generating at least 2 leads a day, but we're pushing them to generate 3 leads a day. Their target is
Mm-hmm.
3 leads a day. If they
Yeah.
generate 3 leads a day, the caller gets a bonus. So they're always hitting that 3 lead target.
Mm.
So that's how we operate. They can also pay, I think it's $3,500. They can pay
Mm-hmm.
$3,500 for 100 leads, and they don't have to hire callers. They just buy the leads from us, and we'll generate all the leads for them. So that's
Gotcha.
another option that they can do.
Really? So someone that's paying $3,500 and getting 100 leads, that they're paying $35 a lead. That's like it's a ridiculous amount of uh of price. Like I personally, I know that I pay, for example, leads that are somewhere in the 50 to 100 to even more if I'm like being county specific. So yeah, I mean that's an incredible price. And then you're saying that someone that does it'll be $1,200 and they get 2 to 3 leads a day.
Yeah, so that's nationwide. I mean, if you're going to be doing California specific, then it is going to jump up to like $5,500.
Mm,
But if it's nationwide, you'll get some California leads in there. You'll get Florida, you'll get Texas, you'll get Arizona, South Carolina, North Carolina. Like it's going to be when you're buying a package of 100 leads for $3,500, it's going to be the
mm,
markets that we're marketing in because you're basically using my cold call team, right? So
mm,
all I'm doing is I'm just growing my cold calling center. That's all I'm doing. And I'm
yeah,
dedicating a team of 5 people to a specific campaign for a client, but you're calling the same list that I'm calling. I'm not doing
right,
anything different. I'm not putting a new list for you, right?
right,
Unless you hire your own team and you want your team to call your list, perfect. My team will call your list.
right,
But if you're buying leads from me on a package deal, I'm giving you the same
hmm,
leads that my team gets. So you're
right,
getting the same list from the same leads that we're getting. You're not the same lead, but from the same source. So
right,
you're basically tackling all the markets that I'm tackling.
right. That's amazing. Okay, cool. And and you target like primary markets, secondary markets, tertiary markets, or is it?
I like primary markets. There's some gold nuggets in there, like Oklahoma. That's probably not considered a primary market, but it's a good
Uh,
market. Um, don't tell anybody, but New Jersey is a great market. My
yeah,
wife
we'll
loves
keep
New
it.
Jersey. We got a lot of deals in New Jersey.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's incredible.
yeah, so those are little nuggets right there that we drop in there. It's low hanging fruit. It's easy. The transactions are easy. The sellers are easy. It's not going to be $100,000 deal probably like California, but you'll get a nice little
Mm,
20K deal there all day long, all
gotcha.
day long.
And what's the average, wholesale assignment fee that you guys are doing or seeing,
Around
across
20,
your
around 20, around 20 grand, 20,
around
25 grand.
20?
So I'll have those
Okay.
unicorns because we market a lot in California for our team as well. So
Mm,
we'll get like 100K deal every 2, 3 months. But most of the deals are like, 20 grand. We'll get some 9,000 sometimes, 15,000s. We'll have a 40,000 there. It all fluctuates, but our average is 20.
gotcha. All right. Well, we got to wrap up soon, so I just want to talk about one more thing, which is data skip. Obviously, this is a software that that people can use in the real estate world. So, can you give us a little bit of a story about DataSkip, why it's different,
Of course.
and then yeah, yeah,
Of course. So I've been doing debt collections for 18 years. The whole thing about debt collections is finding the people that owe the money. So
mm,
obviously, we got really good at that. I
hmm,
use my tools, I use my resources that no one else has access to in the debt collection industry because I have a debt collection license. So using my license, I'm able to pull data from Experian, TransUnion, all these different sources at a high level, at a high clearance that no one else has access to. Okay.
yeah,
So there's tools out there that real estate investors just don't have access to. Because when you try to get these tools, they're going to say, well, what's the purpose of your skip tracing? You're going to say, well, I just want to solicit to them. Yeah, that's not going to work. So I'm not
right,
soliciting to them. I'm using my collection license to have access to these tools. So what I do is I utilize my systems to skip trace for my clients for data skip, which is going to be
that's
just a
amazing.
lot better quality than what everybody else has. And like Robert Wensley, the owner of InvestorLift, I skip traced all of InvestorLift's buyers list. I skip traced it. Data skip traced it.
Yeah,
So Robert Wensley, Eric Klein, another big name in the industry. Eric Klein's the number one
hmm,
sales trainer. Um, they endorse DataSkip. They're affiliates, as a matter of fact. All their communities skip
hmm,
trace with DataSkip because it's the best. It's the best quality. It's the best hit rates, and it's the most accurate skip tracing that you're gonna get on the market, hands down. Just
okay,
is.
awesome, awesome, love it. All right, thank you. Well, Mike, tell us where we can find you. Tell us where we can learn more about you. Tell us what we can do if we want to get in contact with you and we want to work with you. What can we do?
Of course. Of course. So First and foremost, do me a favor, follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. I respond right now to all my DMs myself. So that's the best way to connect with me personally. At FKN Michael Martinez. Same thing with TikTok. Same thing with YouTube. I just launched Mondays with Mike, where I'm coaching people, entrepreneurs and business owners that are doing, anywhere from 150 to $250,000 in revenue to 1 million, trying to get to 5 million, all the way up to 20 million. I'm literally coaching them every Monday on YouTube for an hour on looking at their businesses, what's broken, and giving them suggestions on how to fix it. So let's roll.
Okay. That's awesome. All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on. I really appreciate the podcast. It's been informative and it's been really inspirational as well. So I hope to have you on in the future. And for everyone that's listening, just interact with Mike. Go check out his companies and do some data skip. If you want. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching this, and we hope you stay tuned for the next episode. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. You too.